Hello everyone, this is Gene and I'm back with another video. I hope everybody is okay. It's been another long, long hectic week for me. Today's Saturday. It's about 1:30, a little before 1:30 here in New York City. A very sunny, but from what I can tell, a very hot day. I'm glad to not be outside. I'm not good in the heat. I'm very much a fall, early spring, like early winter type person. I definitely prefer cooler temps as opposed to the hotter ones. So, for all you out there who love the summer weather, wonderful. But I don't share in your enthusiasm. But anyway, I wanted to just discuss this Activision Blizzard diversity tool that came out on Twitter a few days ago. Now, I'm not going to be covering this article. I'm just using it more as a placeholder. But given that my professional work actually deals with diversity, I thought that I could hopefully provide a unique viewpoint on this thing. So, first off, before I get on my viewpoint, I want to say that Sophia Narwitz made a great video about this. And she also made a great video a few weeks back about the whole trans controversy around GTA 5. So I think definitely that if you want, you should check out her videos, and I'll link them in the description of this video. She's made great content about these type of things. Now, for my take, I don't think that my take is going to deviate in the major ways from Sophia's or from most other people's who have been critical of this. But I do hope that I can provide perhaps a different perspective, right? Given that my professional work actually does deal with diversity and numbers and demographics and whatnot, right? So, and I want to be clear, I'm not saying that my experience is a one-to-one perfect comparison to what goes on at a video game company, especially one in as much trouble as Activision Blizzard is. I'm just saying that I do think my professional experience does give me a perhaps more nuanced, maybe, view of it than maybe some others may or may not have because they don't work in an office that's literally called the Office of Compliance and Diversity. And I want to be clear. I understand that the diversity goals of, say, a university are not the same necessarily as the diversity goals in character design of a video game company. So I just want to be perfectly clear about that. I'm just speaking from my own views and my own experience. I'm not saying that it's a perfect comparison, but it's the best I've got. So here's the thing. What I have learned in 10 years, well, 12 years technically, this coming summer, of working in various colleges across New York City and working in the dreaded Office of Compliance and Diversity and dealing with things like diversity and inclusion and all this other stuff is that the diversity that people want and the way diversity actually works are two different things. Let me explain. First of all, diversity is not a pizza. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. If you have a pizza, you have a regular pizza. Jesus Christ, of course, you have to start fighting outside. Um, let's say you have a pizza pie, right? And you cut it into 8 slices. Each individual is going to get the same exact sized slice, right? No slice will be larger or smaller than the other. I think for many, whether it be in my work or in other things like, say, creative, create character creation, I should say, endeavors at video game companies, that this is perhaps what they're aiming for, or at least I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say this is what they're aiming for, right? That each group of people get the same amount of representation as other, say, more typically considered, what's what I'm looking for? I guess dominant groups right? Especially when you look at the West, or in particular the US, this idea that, white people, in particular white men, have been the sort of dominant group, the privileged group for such a long time in American history, right? So I think for many, the ideal is, hey, we'll have 20% of this group, 20% of that group, 20% of this group, 20% white people, and it all, perfectly adds up to 100, right? All the pieces add up to the whole. That, I think, is the ideal many people have when it comes to diversity. Problem is, that's not how diversity truly works. Diversity, in my opinion, true diversity, how it works in the real world, is more like a neighborhood, right? Now, what I mean by that is the demographics of a neighborhood, or any place, a country, a city, but let's just keep it small and say a neighborhood, change as people come and go. And those changes, right, those ebbs and waves, change how that city looks, right? It changes the socioeconomic factors. It changes the type of businesses there. It changes the type, literally, the type of people who live there, not just in ethnic or visual appearance, but also in personality, right? And uh, throughout throughout the history and existence of a particular neighborhood, right? Certain types of people will go up, certain types of people will leave, and the demographics of the neighborhood and the feel of the neighborhood changes as those changes happen. And I think that's a better description of what real world diversity in a job market looks like or works like, right? As societal trends change, the demographics in certain job groups will change, right? For example, professions that were, say, didn't have too much minority representation may gain some more. Others may lose some. Some that have been very, say, male centric, slowly over time become a bit more, less male dominant. And then there are some professions where certain trends just hold. For example, a lot of women tend to go into nursing. A lot of men tend to go into uh, construction work, right, or similar type jobs. Asians tend to trend toward IT, right? Certain trends more or less hold, but a lot of things also change as demographics change, right? So this is what I would say true diversity looks like. So, what does this have to do with Activision Blizzard? What this has to do with Activision Blizzard is that they are trying to, I'm trying to figure out how to say it. They are trying to take something that really cannot be controlled, in my opinion, because you really can't determine how people come and go, how the ebb and flow moves, and they're trying to take something that is much more complex than they give it credit for and apply it to a space where it doesn't belong. Right? I can understand if somebody in the HR department or in the compliance department has to worry about how diverse their workforce is. Every business has to worry about how diverse their workforce is in modern day America. Whether you think it's right or wrong, it's something that companies have to worry about. But diversity, in my opinion, should have very little to do with creative endeavors like character design, right? In my opinion, the only thing that should be guiding character design is creativity and imagination and what is required for the world of the game, right? Overwatch in particular, and Sophia notes this in her video herself, is well known for its incredibly diverse characters, right? But it gets called out for not having enough black people or for not having enough trans individuals or non binary or this or that or the other thing, right? And what I fear is that this diversity space tool, whatever you want to call it, is not actually going to actually help diversity or create more diverse characters because they don't understand what a character is or what diversity is. We're talking about a creative endeavor. We're talking about fictional people who have supernatural powers. Now, I don't follow Overwatch all that closely, but I do know that one character is a literal monkey who lives on the moon. I think his name is Winston. We need to stop trying to apply real world issues or real world concerns to what is clearly an over the top video game. It's entertainment. It doesn't have to be a reflection of the real world, and quite frankly, it shouldn't be. I have nothing against these featured characters here. I think the dude with the dreads is Lucio. The powerlifter girl is Zarya. She's the Russian girl. And then you have the Viking looking dude. I don't know who he is. Right? But by demanding diversity, by having a literal tool that shows how diverse a character is, you are now taking diversity away. All you're doing is creating a new type of. Trying to figure out how to say it. I guess a new. I really can't find the words, but you're basically going to end up replacing what's like the standard character in some people's minds, right? A lot of people, in particular, Game Rant and Kotaku and these type of things, say that the sort of standard character in a video game, because apparently they've never played Japanese video games or video games made in Korea or other countries. But their idea is, Anita's classic, the presumed straight male player. Well, guess what? If you keep on going like this, the presumed straight male player or the presumed straight male character, straight white male character, will no longer be the majority or no longer be your prototypical character template. It will become a character like Zarya or like Lucio, which will then not be diverse, right? If they become the standard, then it's no longer diversity. You've just created a different type of standard which you'll then be complaining about. For example, why is Zarya straight? Why is Zarya white? Why is Zarya Russian? Right? This is not going to help with diversity because it's going to take diversity, which is already a very hot button topic, and in my opinion is too demographics focused even in my line of work. And it's going to reduce it down to numbers that really cannot explain or represent what diversity is. You get points for culture or ethnicity. All you're going to do is give people incentive to create shallow characters who only look diverse. Ooh, we want to look diverse. Let's give a character instead of giving a female character, long hair. Let's make her bald. That'll get us more diversity points. Not that being bald would actually make sense for the character, right? Like it does for, say, Jack in Mass Effect. But because, ooh, we want diversity points. Or, hey, let's make a character black or brown skinned for the sake of making them black and brown skinned so we get more diversity points. Not because it makes sense for the character or sense for the world that they exist in or sense for the archetype or stereotype or idea that they represent, but because, hey, we need diversity, right? Hey, let's give them a uncommon body type. Well, here's the thing: once you start giving everybody the uncommon body type, whether it's Zarya's or whether it's something like E Honda from Street Fighter or Bob or whatever it is, like the heavy dudes. Once you start using that more and more, it's no longer common. It's no longer uncommon. It becomes common. It's like what Syndrome says, right? In the what is it, The Incredibles, right? That if everyone is super, then no one is, right? if everybody has these traits, if everybody's dark skinned, if everybody has a funny haircut, if everybody is a non-standard body type, however you define that, if everybody is a non-traditional or non-binary gender identity, or every character is now LGBTQ and no one is straight, then guess what? You've now just created a new normal, which will be just as creatively empty as the current normal that you claim to be fighting against. You need to allow for creativity. That should be what's guiding the creation of these characters, not charts like this that uh, that rank a character on things that ultimately really shouldn't matter, especially in a space like gaming that is influenced by so many different cultures and ethnicities and gender identities and all that. Like, imagine if you took this diversity space method, right, and you applied it to something like, say, Metroid. They would claim that a character like Samus is painfully normal and not diverse because Samus is a conventionally fit, attractive, long-haired, feminine, quote unquote, white woman. Now, of course, anybody familiar with Metroid knows that Samus isn't even human anymore, if she ever was, and that her story has never focused all that much on her gender or her presumed ethnicity or her hair color or anything of that sort. Her story has always been about her hunting Metroids, right? Or hunting Ridley, or blowing up Kraid in the face, or whatever it is. Hers is about action and adventure. Plus, if this continues, then the characters that I personally relate to go out of style. That's another thing I think that people who champion this type of, in my opinion, faux diversity don't take into account. Not everyone needs a character to look like them, to relate to them. I will give you an example. One of my favorite video games ever is Streets of Rage 2. I love that game to death. There are four main characters in that game. Three of them are male, one is African American, one is a woman. Which character do you think I relate to the most? Is it Axel, the Cody ripoff, the ripoff of Cody from Final Fight? Is it Blaze, the beautiful and deadly martial artist in the red halter top and short skirt? Is it Skate, the young African American boy on rollerblades? No. Those characters are all well and fine and good, but they're not my favorites. My favorite in Streets of Rage 2 is Max. Max is a big, strong pro wrestler, and that's why I like him. He is what they would consider non-diverse because he's male and he has a traditional, aesthetically pleasing body type and being obscenely muscular, and he's powerful. But that's exactly why I like him, because he's big and he's strong. He has, in my opinion, the coolest moves in the game, from that rolling thunder tackle to the flying atomic drop. He can literally take a dude's head in his hands and crush it like a melon. But more importantly, and I realize this more and more as I get older and I reflect on my life, Max represented something that I was not and that I desperately wanted to be when I was a child. And that was strong. I've always had a draw, a pull, an attraction to the strong characters, whether it's Max, whether it's Wolverine, whether it's Shiva, whether it's Sub-Zero or Batman. I've always been drawn to the physically strong characters or to the morally strong characters because they embodied something that I did not have, which was strength. I wanted to be big and strong like they were. And while perhaps I never got the strong part right, I got big. I didn't quite get physically strong. But they always represented that ideal to me of being the big, strong hero, of what I wanted to be and what I wish I had in my life at that time. Those were the characters I related to. Those were the characters I was drawn to. Now, I've got nothing against these three characters shown here. They're all well, fine, and good, but I don't feel drawn to any of them. Not even Zarya. I feel nothing. I feel indifferent. I don't relate to them. They don't represent me. They don't mean anything to me. They don't represent anything that I hold dear or that I believe in or that I idealize in any way. And I think that's going to be the biggest loss if this continues. You're going to have characters who are on the surface diverse because they're not white or straight or male or conventionally attractive, but inside, they're not going to have anything. They're not going to have interesting stories. They're not going to have interesting powers. They're not going to have interesting interactions. They're not going to be cool characters. They may be diverse in being not white, straight, or male, which in my opinion is not diversity. Because white, straight males all have different experiences and come from different backgrounds. But this apparently is a new definition of diversity, anything that is not white, straight, or male. Right? But guess what? They're going to be hollow, empty shells. In time, they are going to become, if they're not already becoming, just hollow stereotypes that have no message, that have no meaning. Right? They are just going to be empty. And they're not going to last. They're not going to be characters. If this continues, they are not going to be characters that are beloved or talked about or who last. Franchises that have lasted the 30-some years, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tomb Raider, Metroid, and many others, those that have stood the test of time do so because they are more than what they appear. Mortal Kombat, believe it or not, is more than just its gory blood and violence. Right? Metroid is more than just an action game. Street Fighter is more than just, fighting different people around the world. Those are large elements, and those are the appeal, but there's more to it than that. There has to be, because there were plenty of Street Fighter clones in the 90s. There were plenty of Mortal Kombat clones in the 90s, and those games didn't last. Those games didn't have what the games they were copying had. Even GTA, there have been plenty of games that have tried to copy GTA, whether it being open world or whether it being a crime drama. The majority of them don't last. They last for a season and then they are forgotten. Very few franchises truly persist over time. That's because there's something more to them. And a lot of the times, it's the characters, it's the story. Regardless of how silly or over the top you may think the story is, or the characters are, they are what draw people back. Time and 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 time again. People want to come back to that world. They want to, yes, they want to play as new characters with new powers and all that, but they also want to see how this story progresses. Why do you think there was so much drama over Sindel's retcon in Mortal Kombat 11? It wasn't because of the way she looked all that much. It was because her character had been ruined. The character people had grown up with and fallen in love with was now ruined. Absolutely ruined. That's what people got upset about. It wasn't about the diversity of her appearance, being an older woman with, gray streaked hair. That wasn't it. The character people had known was now obliterated by poor writing that made no sense. And that's going to be the same thing here. It will have the face of diversity. Hey, look, we have a female lead. Hey, look, we have a queer lead. Hey, look, we have a this and a that thing. That is not a straight white man. Please praise us. But it won't have anything else. And you need something more than just surface diversity to last. This ain't gonna last. But anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Bye.